Hi everybody and welcome to Different Leaf, a show for new and experienced cannabis consumers. I'm Brit Smith. Today we're taking a trip up to just north of Saratoga Springs, New York, right on the border of Vermont and New York, to see how cannabis products go from being on a farm to being on your shelves. We're going to go and check out Echo Creek Farm in Salem, New York, where there's hemp and cannabis being grown, among many other things, that are then being transformed into products by a company called Ohho, O-H-H-O. They're making pre-rolls, gummies, really good skincare, lotions and face creams, oils, all kinds of things. So we got 3.5 hour road trip ahead of us. Let's hit the road and see the farm that our products start out on. Just crossed over into New York State, and this is the Hudson Valley, which is next to the Berkshires in Massachusetts. It's all massive hills and mountains and valleys and rivers, and it's beautiful. It's really lush and green out here. I can see why this is a good spot for farmland. We're still about 1.5 hours away from the farm, so let's keep on trucking. All right, we're here at Echo Creek Farm. I am just driving up this huge hill to come out of the town and up into the farmland. Special thanks to the cop who just pulled me over and gave me a non-moving violation. Thanks for keeping your streets safe. Coming up past a really cute cottage and a red barn with a big white door on it. We have officially come off paved road, and I'm driving through a tunnel of trees. Okay, I think I found it. Yes. Okay. Oh, I can already see the hemp plants inside the greenhouses. They're like 2 or 3 feet tall. Woo, cool. Here we go. Let's find Chris. Hey, how's it going? I'm looking for Chris. He's somewhere around here. Oh my gosh, there's like 6 to 8 massive greenhouses. All these greenhouses are filled with herbs, vegetables, cannabis, and hemp. All right, we've located Chris. Hi, you must be Chris.
I am. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This will be our 2nd year cultivating THC.
But you've been doing hemp for...
We've been doing hemp for 4 years.
4 years.
You know?
So you were like an independent farmer, and you connected with Ohho.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we supply all their New York-based oils. Yeah.
Okay.
So any of their New York-based oil products come from our farm.
So anywhere they sell it, they have different farmers in those states or in those areas to supply the local flower.
Yeah. So like they have like an Oregon strain. They had an oil from Vermont. And then those products are coming from those farms in that area. Yep. So this is our satellite farm.
This is not your main farm.
No, this is a buddy of mine. Actually, his is way more built out than mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen like cannabis and hemp alongside other vegetables and herbs and things.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What all do you have?
This is hemp. This is actually THCV.
Oh wow.
Yep. Autoflowers that we've developed.
To grow the THC?
Yep. This
awesome.
is THC. This will all be used for smokable product.
And then over here?
Marigolds and lettuce and all that kind of stuff. Chevril.
Runner beans, and you've got chamomile here. I see broccoli.
Chamomile, hollyhocks, basil, sprouts.
Brussels sprouts.
So, yeah.
Wow. So this is not just a farm that does hemp and cannabis. You guys also do vegetables, herbs, fruits.
Yep. So they do that as well, and then we just do... It's good for the cannabis because you're not monocropping like this whole big space.
What's the problem with monocropping one big space? Why does it help to have other vegetables?
A lot of it has to do with like deterrent for bugs and pathogens.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So when there's more to choose from, when you have a disease that hits, it wipes through it really fast because the disease doesn't have to change genetically in order to figure out how to kill the next thing, right? If you've got aphids, they can jump really quick.
Sure.
But if you break it up, it introduces other species of beneficial bugs and whatnot, and kind of just breaks up the intrusion.
That's so cool. So I can definitely see 2 different kinds of cannabis plant going on here.
Yes.
There's one with no buds yet, and they've got long, thin leaves, and
Yep.
then sort of next to it are these plants with massive buds. So
these are mothers.
These are what?
Mothers.
Mother plants.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
you clip off from the mother plant and start a clone.
Correct, which
Got
are
it.
over here.
Oh, they have like a little incubator room
Yes.
that they sit in.
Yes.
And so you know that every single time you've got a plant, it's the same genetics.
Correct.
And that your products are going to be, across the board, they're going to feel similar.
Yeah, they're going to be uniform, and it all helps us preserve genetics that we really find attractive.
Wow.
Yeah, so they go from mothers to here, and they incubate in here
incubator.
for like 10 days, and then they go to the solo cups, and then
They move
this
greenhouses.
is up and running.
So then they get moved over to the R&D greenhouse where you can see if they're creating the sorts of traits that you want.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So
Oh, okay. So now we've just walked into a separate greenhouse, and there's probably 90 plants in here, so like 30 in a row. And they're all about waist height,
Yep.
just starting to bud.
yes, these got flipped to flower about 9 days ago, 10 days ago.
So I see in here that not only is it like a greenhouse where you get natural light, but you've also got lamps above them.
We do.
Do you use those at night?
So they are used automatically. They're not only on a timer, but they're on a light sensor over here.
Oh, they have a
And
light
so-
sensor.
Yep. So in the morning, when the sun and the fan's loud, I'll move. In the morning, when the sun is at a lower angle and they're not getting enough sunlight, this sensor notices that and then turns the lights in here on just enough to make it up. So they don't turn on, to full all the time. They're on this spectrum.
Yeah.
And they can turn on and off as needed based off of what the sensor's reading.
That's so smart.
It's very cool.
Very, very
smarter
clever.
than me. It's very cool.
That's really
So,
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got a little bit of automated technology for cultivation in here. Just to
Oh yeah,
help
this
you
is all automated. So like the fans come on at a certain time, the light depth, which is you can see the dark piece on the ridge.
Yeah.
That actually will roll down over the sides.
Oh wow.
Yep. And then the lights will come on and that'll roll down. Yeah, so that helps keep
cool.
That helps keep us in flowers.
All right.
But yeah, so this is this greenhouse. And this is a greenhouse inside another greenhouse. So for the insulative purposes. So there's actually a 2-foot barrier all the way around over this. And so in the winter, you can heat this and not lose all your heating.
Oh, that's so clever.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
suppose there's a specific temperature and humidity that
Yes.
the plants do best at.
Correct.
And you can't always maintain that in New England year round. So these double
Yeah.
insulated greenhouses come into play.
Yes, very much.
That's
so,
clever.
Very much so.
Yeah. And the extra light that you're putting in here too.
Yes, and so this will pretty much run itself over the winter.
Wow, that's cool.
And so this greenhouse will produce twice in about 4 months.
Wow, it's almost like a conveyor belt of plants that just
It
in and out.
can be if you set it up right,
Yeah.
for sure.
So you've always got little buds, you've always got medium-sized buds, you've always got flowering buds, and you just roll them along?
Yes, pretty much. So yeah, right now what we're looking at is the next couple of years. Dispensaries don't close down in the winter,
Yeah.
but unfortunately outside farming does, right? And so, especially with our branding and whatnot, we're really big on freshness and making sure that the best possible product is getting delivered in the most timely manner. And so growing a lot in the summer and then storing it just doesn't really fit what I think is a real sustainable model for the long term.
Yeah.
So being able to have some technology put in place that allows us to continually have fresh product, I think is a better move.
Yeah,
So,
I prefer a fresh
so-
flower. I can tell the difference if
Yeah.
it's been stored, it's
Yeah.
all crumbly and it's not as good. There's something
So-
about a farm fresh product that's
Yeah.
just better.
Yeah, there really is.
All those dispensaries down in New York City, this is where it's all coming from, right? Farms like this.
Yeah, absolutely. A small greenhouse will produce somewhere around 40-ish pounds about every, cycle, which is about every 2 months. And this greenhouse will produce almost 175 pounds.
175 pounds every couple months.
Every couple months.
Yow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But where does it go after it's been grown here?
So from here, it actually goes back to the main farm where it's dried, cured, bucked off the stem. Anything that isn't, deemed appropriate for the smokable market would get set into, biomass. So from there, it goes to the farm, and at the farm we do all the dry cure, all the bucking, the grinding, all the processing from flower to final product.
Wow. And does it get packaged there?
Yes.
And if it's smokable?
Yes, it gets packaged.
But if it's going to be used for something like the oils or the gummies?
That goes somewhere else.
That goes somewhere else to be produced?
Yep. So it goes to a different processor to be, extracted, and then that extracted material is sent off to different places around the state for different products. So like right now, we have one manufacturer who's doing our gummies with our oil, and then we have another manufacturer who we're setting up with to do, actually we're bringing in a chocolate maker.
A chocolate maker, ooh, yeah.
So we're setting stuff up for that.
This is a massive project that obviously you're running. How many hands on deck do you have here to make all of this weed?
So today here, I have 5 people here today.
5 people. Essentially, year round, you and 4 others are running this.
Yeah, and then at different times, there's, harvest and whatnot, we bolster up.
So the kind of work that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, it's not quite the same that you have to do, like, in that harvesting process.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, day-to-day is transplants
crazy.
and clones and, spraying and checking for bugs and that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. So I'll walk you through.
Yeah, let's go check out this massive greenhouse. You use the soil straight from this ground.
Soil. Yep.
Good soil. This is an area where there seems to be a lot of farms. Like there's a lot of farming of a lot of things going on here, so it must be fertile soil.
Yes, it's like prehistoric forest basically. And so it has this, it's like a clay loam mix. It holds nutrients really well. And like people move up here to start farms because of the soil content.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the food and the weed must taste really good from here, right?
I think it does. Yeah, I'm shooting to start dubbing it the Emerald Triangle of the East. It's like,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was driving up here. I was like, it feels like just east and north of the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Yeah.
It feels a lot like North California out here, and it looks like some of wine country looks like this.
Yes.
With all the hills and all of the. It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, it's really great. We really enjoyed being here for sure.
So I tried some of the New York products. I got sent some hand cream.
Oh yeah.
Some gummies.
Yep.
Some healing rub.
Oh yeah.
Some tincture.
I use the healing rub actually.
This stuff's good. It's really good. It's coming from all of these plants here. It's amazing to me that you can take a plant and you technically squeezing it.
Squeeze it
until the oil comes out, and then you can turn that oil into whatever products you want. Right.
Exactly.
That's so crazy.
Exactly.
Is it easier for you as a farmer to partner with a company that's already set up like Ohho rather than to try and take this to market yourself?
Oh, absolutely. If you're having a saleable product, right, where the goal is to get it to a consumer, you have to know that you have a way to get it to that consumer. This is more than a full-time. Yeah. My wife will tell you that it's more than a full-time.
Right.
So I think that's what a lot of people are caught in right now. They're trying to do everything. And so I think that's where a lot of people kind of fell and tripped this year was, okay, I'm going to grow this product. Oh, I'm just going to slap a label on it and do a brand without thinking about how robust that thing needs to be in order to get it to market and be sustainable.
Yeah.
And Ohho checks that box for sure. They do a fantastic job.
Oh, they do. It's luxury stuff. The stuff they produce with your plants is top notch. Oh my gosh, so good. Smells so good. Yeah. You enjoy what they make from your plants? Absolutely. Yeah, they do make some good stuff. Absolutely. And it's really good. I mean, there's gorgeous plants. I've got some of them are green or some of them are more purple.
Yeah. This stuff is a breed that we've created called Lilac Diesel.
Lilac Diesel.
Yeah. It has a...
Oh, he's getting his chef on.
Yeah, it's like, it just has this note of, it's super high in citrus notes.
Yeah.
But it has this deep undertone of diesel gas to it too. So it just kind of hangs in the air. And it smells so good.
Wow.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, this is going to end up being smokable.
Smokable?
Yeah.
All right, got something to look forward to here.
And being able to, use science the best that we possibly can, it helps create this consistency.
Yeah.
Right. And, we've got a bunch of cool seeds coming from all sorts of places.
Where did you first get your first seeds to start this whole forest of hemp and then THC?
Right. So, a few different places. There's some places in New York that we actually purchased from.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Very cool. Then we used a couple of breeders in Colorado as well as California.
So seeds are that's legal to use seeds from other states?
So in New York, in most states, they consider immaculate conception for the first year of plants and seeds.
What? They just turn up.
They just turned up.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right, because there's no psychoactive drug in it.
Yeah. Right.
So
okay, so you decided on certain seeds, and you were like, this is the good stuff. I'm going to start with those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is where it moves from seed to stem, and then eventually from stem to either biomass or baggies, and then on to be made into products.
Yes.
And that's how it hits our shelves.
Absolutely.
Well, I never.
After I'd seen one of the farms that Ohho was working with in the US to grow their plants for their cannabis products, I decided to check in with Ohho's co-founder, Tim McDonald, to learn what happens after the plants leave the farm. I wanted to know how they get turned into the products that we enjoy, who tests them before they hit the shelves, and how they eventually get to the dispensaries and then to us, the customers. Tim, welcome. It's nice to meet another fellow Brit in the American cannabis space. So Ohho is in several states. When you're working in those separate states, Chris was telling me that you have different farmers in those states that will produce, each plant that you need in each state for each product. Is it the same sort of products across each state, or do you have very different ranges of products?
What we know as a company is that there is excellence in what is happening in America, and that's in terms of the genetics, the cultivation approaches, and the processing. So our idea was really to go out there and partner with independent farmers, people that were doing an artisanal type of cultivation, finding something that's special, that's not the standardized offerings that you tend to get from big corporates.
Yeah.
And at the same time, what we really want to recognize is that where you grow this plant and how you grow this plant really matters. And when you have people that know what they're doing, they are able to provide something that is really representative of that land and that region, and something very unique. So it's been a long, long time, a couple of years, finding amazing people in New York. We've got a number of farms in New York now, partners that we work with. Up in Oregon, of course, a great place for genetics when it comes to cannabis.
Yeah.
Vermont, just most beautiful environment for growing there. And we've also worked with Colorado farmers too. So it's just really wanting to celebrate these appellations of distinction, these cultivation lands of global distinction that exist in America.
I love that, and that gives me a reason to travel to other states to try their local Ohho products, or local products in general, because I didn't really think about how much the land will impact the flavor and the experience of the cannabis that's grown there.
Oh, it's huge. I think the best comparison is looking at the sort of wine industry, really, or maybe the coffee industry. We all have our preference for either kind of Colombian beans or Kenyan coffee beans. And it reflects the land from where it's cultivated, So similarly with cannabis, it's a botanical plant, and it will reflect the environment. It bioremediates, so anything in that land, in that soil, will be in the plant. And it also biosequestration. It will take anything from in the atmosphere into that plant as well.
So now that you've found those farmers that you want to work with, and you're like, this is the top quality offering in this region, what happens then after they've grown these plants that will then go and be processed? So Chris was telling me that some of the plants will go off to his main farm and get processed for smokable products, and they can get packaged right there. And then the rest of them that are going to be made into like gummies and tinctures and other, oils, they're sent off to other processing. So what happens from that point onwards?
Chris's farm up in Saratoga, as well having visited, is just in this most pristine environment.
Gorgeous.
So you've got to know what your strains are. You've got to know what plants are going to respond best to that kind of environment. There's a lot of moisture later on in the year, so you've got to make sure that they're resistant to molds and things. But essentially, the license gives you an acre. You can grow on an acre, and they ask you how much of the acre do you want to grow on, and you say, all of it, thank you.
Right.
And then we parceled that land up for different purposes, really. So I think probably let's start at the earliest crops. So we had around about a third of an acre of autoflower crops, which are fast growing, fast maturing plants grown outdoors across a third of an acre. And we were able to actually get 2 crops in because they take about 7 to 8 weeks to mature. Now, those particular flowers were flash frozen, bucked essentially from the stalks and then flash frozen, so you preserve the terpene profile and the cannabinoid profile from the field. Now that material was then sent off to a processor who would do a hydrocarbon extraction, really trying to utilizing this live resin oil that would come out of that for It's for vape products and dabs. It's not actually products that we provide. So we were selling some of our cannabinoid content essentially to other producers. Then we have other types of flower. Smokable flower is pretty straightforward. So what we're talking about there is sort of full photo period plants. So this takes anything from sort of 10 to 12 weeks cultivation time, mature time in the field. And what we do with those is we obviously harvest that. We take off a lot of the big fan leaves, but not too many. And then we just hang it to dry. And I think the really crucial thing with any smokable cannabis product is that you dry it in not too fast, not too slow. And then you have to allow it to be cured. It's like anything. You have to then batch that up in an airtight container. And every day you have to burp it, which involves opening it and giving it a little bit of a toss, not too much. But just really bringing out that beautiful terpene profile that's, when it dries, it kind of goes into the plant. So bringing that back out to the front so that you have this beautiful smelling flower. And after about 3 to 4 weeks, you've got a product there that you can then send off back up to the farm. It will be ground. It will then be sieved to remove any of the sort of stalky material, because that doesn't taste very good. Mm-hmm. And then that will be put into our pre-rolls, which are then put in beautiful biodegradable organic plastic alternative little wrappers inside our gorgeous little boxes with a box of matches. It just excites me so much. I'm so proud of what we're able to do. But then I go back to Chris, who we've been working with since 2020. And just to see how this is really enriching his life, as well, that, he sees this seed, which he then beautifully nurtures all the way through to maturity, to see it finally on a shelf in a dispensary is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We have other plants as well that we grow for extract, not the live resin, not for the sort of the vapes. We produce a lot of another third of an acre that we utilize for what you call distillate. So that will go off and have an ethanolic extraction done, which is a really good pulls out a really good broad spectrum from the plants. And then that gets refined into what we call a distillate, and you get these sort of kilo bottles of this beautiful golden, sticky, very highly cannabinoid proofed extract, which we then use in our edibles. So we have gummies as well. So that goes off to our manufacturer. He's got a license for producing those to our specifications. And it's rare for us to see these things because they go from the field to the processor, boxed up, and then straight down to the dispensaries, So it's an amazing industry. It's crazy what's happened this year. It's not been an easy ride because it's so new. So you had this sort of situation going.
Especially in New York.
This is it, yeah.
Wow. So essentially you grow different plants for different purposes, and they get shipped off on their own journeys, and they go off, whether they're going to be smoked or whether they're going to be turned into something.
Right.
They go off to different processors.
Right.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I didn't realize that there were so many different avenues that you had to pick before you even put the seeds in the ground as for what they're going to be used for later.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing there is the smokables, and it's not everybody's preference, but the quality that is required in the smokable market, because of the industry and because of the quality that exists in the United States, you have to make sure that you're using full photo period strains that really, provide the best visual sensory experience, as well as obviously the intoxicating experience that you get from that. Other plants are really amazing for utilizing quick grows, which you can then extract those and use those milligrams, in any way you want, with edibles or vapes or drinks or whatever it is that you're doing. But they wouldn't be as good as smokable flower as the full photo periods.
Right. Wow. You've really got to select very carefully for each use, I guess. Essentially, I suppose this is like a massive web network of people that work from getting it from the seed all the way through the processes and then in the packaging and then to the shelves. So let's talk about that part of the web. How does it get from where it's been processed into either smokables or edibles or vape cartridge sort of material? How does it go from there to the shelves? Or how do you partner with different dispensaries? How do you ship them? How does it get to people?
It's a good question, because you have to have a license in order to move this stuff around. You can move it off the farm to place relatively simply, but you can't sort of drive into Manhattan with with a trunk full of, all sorts
you
of
can.
things.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah, well...
I've been there, and there's a lot of illegal dispensaries doing just that.
But it really, really matters how it's cultivated, how it's grown, and the safety parameters around what we're doing. It's really important to take responsibility for our consumers with CBD and THC, recognizing that you have to work with good people, you have to work with reputable people, and you have to provide full analysis of all the products that you're doing. So when we've made our distillate, we'll send that off to our gummy manufacturer, which is just up the road. And it's this beautiful little network, because it's New York, this wonderful web of people that you described there that's just growing and growing. And we have our distillate that's been extracted, and we send that off to our manufacturer. And what they'll do down at the manufacturing places is produce the gummies, have them sent off for third-party analysis to check for potency and for any possible contamination. Going back to the point I said before, anything in the ground, anything in the air will be in these plants. Big problem with the industry with, bad use of nasty toxic chemicals and things in the cultivation period. So he'll produce these. We'll get the COA to clarify everything, to make sure the analysis is safe. And then they will be chauffeur-driven in a van by the license holder, who will take them directly to the dispensaries. But it goes directly to the shelves, and it's on the shelves. And the kind of key workers in these places, of course, are the bud tenders.
Right.
And I think it's really important to go in and respect them and want to talk to them and chat about our products, but also chat about their experiences that they've had with cannabis, what their preferences are, and really give them as much information as we can regarding the products that we're providing. So it's not just about, here's a strain, it's got this much THC in it. That's a really bad way of actually purchasing cannabis.
It is a very bad way. It's not really talking about the full plant at all. And I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle, is that connection between when it gets to the shelves and how it's then, marketed to the public. And that is through the bud tenders. Yeah.
And these are people that know quality when they see it, right? Yeah. It's curious because we don't go and buy a bottle of wine based on how much alcohol is in it. That's the last thing you're looking at, right?
That's very true.
But it's crazy because strain name doesn't necessarily mean too much these days anyway, because everything's kind of hybridized, and where it's grown will affect the profile of that plant.
Totally,
And I think the key things when assessing it, you can do it by sensory, so you can smell it, and it's about whether that appeals to you or not. That's all it kind of matters, really.
There's the saying, the nose knows. So when you're picking flower, when you're picking bud, it's always good to smell it.
And you can have a closer look. If you've got one of those jeweler's loupes, you can look right in there and check out the trichome maturity and that kind of thing. But trust your nose when it comes to cannabis. Yeah, definitely.
Nose knows. Yes, yes, absolutely. This has been an incredibly interesting process to understand what happens from seed to shelf. Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on this. I think Different Leaf is doing some really amazing things as well. Yet the fact that you exist is incredibly exciting. It's all part of this bigger network and this web.
Yeah.
It's beautiful what you guys are doing. So well done, and thanks so much.
Thank you. A huge thanks to our guests, Farmer Chris George and Tim McDonald from Ohho. Be sure to check out their high-end cannabis and CBD products at weareohho.com. That's OHHO. Next week, we'll be chatting about the intersection of music and marijuana with the Berkeley Music College grad behind Loud Girl Goodies, Carolyn Alexander.
A lot of early jazz players started smoking weed because it would allow them to enter into the zone, right? And forget about the racist policies. Eventually, as the government caught on, they criminalized that behavior. Part of it was to basically shut down jazz clubs and criminalize jazz musicians, basically, because jazz is protest art, basically.
Right.
Of black expression.
Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you're listening right now so you don't miss the next episode. And follow us on social media at Different Leaf, and I'm on social media at Brit the British. Be a love and leave us a review wherever you're listening to us right now. The best review will be selected to receive a free, incredibly cool t-shirt from the new xdifferentleaf.com merchandise line. Make sure you've also got your cultural spring issue of Different Leaf, the magazine, out now at select retailers across the US and Canada, and available at differentleaf.com.